Today I'm going to talk about my trip to Paris right before the pandemic. It's pretty interesting, I'd like to think, but here it is. So as I'm editing this video, I've realized I don't have any conversation behind it, like any vocal. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about I went on a trip to France in 2019? No, 2020. In 2020 during the pandemic. Um, but this was before everything was closed down, before everything, before it really started to hit. It was right before, in my defense. Um, my dad is an educated person. He understands how to prevent illness when it comes to dealing with sickness and stuff like that. Um, but so he kind of briefed us. He's like, okay, France is kind of a hot spot right now. Make sure that you're washing your hands as much as you possibly can. We have hand sanitizer. It was like medical grade hand sanitizer. He's like, we have hand sanitizer that you can use, which it was gross. It had like moisture in it because like doctors and nurses use it. And they have to put on a ton of hand sanitizer because of where they work. They work with people with illnesses and just other things, so they have to make sure that their hands stay clean. It was that kind. And if you know anything about that kind of hand sanitizer, it kind of looks like white substance. Yeah. And so with the hand sanitizer, we're just like using it. I'm making sure. I mean, I used a whole tub of that on that trip, and we were only there for 3 days because we got sent home. But back to where it was. So we were traveling. We left Las Vegas, and it was a direct to Paris, and so we're riding we're on this plane, and it's like we've left at this point, and we're heading there, and it's like 12 o'clock at night, MST, I think, and we're on our way to Paris, and so we're flying over like Quebec because the plane goes in an arch. We're I don't know, we're flying over some part of Canada. I think it was Quebec, and you just see so much freaking ice chunks and everything like that. It was really cool. Sun was setting, and then it finally got dark, and I was just I was just watching a movie, trying to fall asleep. And I hear the captain say over the intercom, "I'm aware of the situation. Don't worry about it." And I was like, "What situation? What should I not worry about?" So I was like pretty concerned. I go and tap my dad on his shoulder, and I'm like, "Hey, did you hear what the pilot said?" And he's like, "No." I was like, "Well, he just said that there's a situation. He's aware about it. He's got it handled or something like that." And then he's like, "Oh, that's really strange." And he got on his phone. I guess he just got bombarded with text messages and stuff from family and friends, because at that moment when we were flying over Quebec, Canada, Trump put in a European travel ban, which was kind of surreal. That I was on the last one of the last couple of planes to travel to Europe. Not like dropping people off or going to pick people up, like not like the rescue planes that they sent for people that got stuck there. And so we didn't turn around. And so we went to France, and we landed there in their airport, and we're just waiting. We're just seeing if everything's okay with our Airbnb and if we can actually go in to this Airbnb. And so we hang out in the airport for probably an hour or two after we land, and then we finally are able to get a cab and go to our Airbnb. And it was like midday, I think, at this point. And so we kind of just take the rest of the day to rest. My dad's quite a bit stressed. I mean, I was 15 years old at this time, and so I have no idea exactly what's going on. So we figure that out. We kind of rest for the rest of this day, and then the next day we were like, okay, we were maybe 45 minutes to an hour walking away from the Eiffel Tower, and we could go stop by like the Louvre and the Notre Dame. Correct me if I'm wrong with that pronunciation of the Notre Dame. It's either that or Dame. I don't know for sure, which is funny because my girlfriend's French. So we're just like going into this Eiffel Tower. We're on our way, and it was so surreal to walk around the streets of Paris, because you hear so much about it, like the city of love and everything online, and it is a gorgeous city, and really everyone that I saw was very friendly. There wasn't a lot of people because of COVID, I assume. Um, but it was pretty gorgeous. On our way to the Louvre, though, we did get stopped by one of the tourist scammers. In this scam, they tie a bracelet around your wrist, and it's either someone will come up behind you and try and pickpocket your phone, or they'll tie it really tight on your wrist, and then they'll be like, "Okay, pay me if you want me to take it off," you know. And so my brother got stopped, and my brother is not the super social type, and so he wasn't really like saying no. He wasn't saying like back off, you know. And so my brother's freaking out. He calls out my name. I walk over and I'm like, "Hey," and then guy is not letting him go. And so then I give the guy my wrist, and then I was like, "Okay, go get our dad." And my dad's a shorter person, but man, he is scary. When he's angry, he is terrifying. And so my brother goes and runs down this bridge across, like right next to the Louvre, to go and I'm pretty sure it's the bridge where they put all the locks on it. But to go, and he goes and gets my dad and brings him back, and just the face on this scammer, man, his whole face dropped, his whole attitude dropped. He was super friendly, super kind. You know, where are you from? How are you? What? Blah, blah, blah. How is it like in your country? Blah blah blah. And then completely attitude changes. My dad walks up. We're not paying you a dime. And then the guy's face, you know, completely drops. And he finally finishes, and I'm still blissfully ignorant, and I'm like, thank you, and stuff like that. I didn't learn until I got back that that was actually a scammer. But besides the fact, we went and we were just doing our thing, driving along. We go to the Louvre. I have a picture of the Louvre, or like the glass part of the triangle thing. I don't know if it's called. I think it's called the Louvre, right? I don't know. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I took a picture of the Louvre, and there's just a guy staring back, like straight into the camera in this picture, and it is the funniest thing in the world. If I can find it, I'll probably put it up, but I don't think I'll be able to. At this point, we've been able to see the Eiffel, like the top of the Eiffel Tower for a while, and so we're like, okay, after the Louvre, Eiffel Tower time. We had tickets to the top floor of the Eiffel Tower this day. And so we just keep walking, you know, we stop and get brunch. I tried escargot for the first time. That was cool. It's actually pretty good. And then we go and we just keep traveling. We get to the Eiffel Tower. We go through the little check to make sure that we're not like a bad person at the base. And then we get in and we go to the second floor. Or we get in and then we are trying to figure out something because there was an issue with our tickets. And our tickets were to the top floor of the Eiffel Tower. But I guess earlier that day they shut down the top floor because of COVID because it was too crowded. And so we were only able to go to the second floor of the Eiffel Tower, which, I mean, I'm not complaining. So we go there. It's getting close to sunset by this time. You know, you're maybe an hour away. So we start the ascent, or we start going up the Eiffel Tower, and we're like, oh, this is freaking sick, you know. And we go and we get to see the first floor. We look around, we walk around. It is absolutely gorgeous, even just from that first floor of the Eiffel Tower. You can see quite a bit, and it is so pretty. Then the second floor was just jaw-dropping. You're so high up, even though it's like not crazy high. I don't know. It's a big building. Like, it's way bigger than you think. And so we're at the second floor of the Eiffel Tower, and we're looking around, and it's just jaw-dropping. It's everything that you could imagine and 10 times better. And luckily enough, today was like the perfect day to watch the sunset because there was just enough cloud coverage with how the sun would come through. It was like this orangish pink haze across the whole sky. And it was just absolutely beautiful seeing the sun reflect off of all of the waters and all the water and buildings across all of Paris. And I mean, it was just a surreal feeling of like, this is my life. This is actually happening. What the hell, you know? And so then that finally finished up, and the sun set and the Eiffel Tower's lights came on, and I got to see the light show, which was freaking gorgeous. We stood up there for a while longer, and then we're like, okay, let's go get a look from the ground. So we go to the ground and we cross. There's a bridge right next to the Eiffel Tower that goes across the water, a river, sorry, and then it goes up or towards this building with very big stairs that go kind of in a V shape away from each other, if I'm remembering correctly. So we go across there and we're looking back at the Eiffel Tower, and it's flashing on and off. And then my dad looks over and talks to kind of the group of us all. There's 4 of us, counting him. And he looks at us and he's just like, just letting you guys know, the French government have closed down the Eiffel Tower until further notice. So another last has happened where I was a part of the last group to leave the Eiffel Tower right before the shutdown for COVID. And so we're like, holy crap. That was already a trip that like blew my mind and has completely just like changed perception of size for me. It is, I don't know, it makes you feel very small. And then we just had the news from the government and we're like, holy crap. So we're going to go see the arch the next day. So we go see the arch. They're limiting people to go to the top of it because of COVID, which is understandable. And so we get to the arch and we go see, we take pictures of everything. We look at it's a gorgeous monument. And I mean, we just have a ton of fun. We walked around, we looked, then we go and we stop at this restaurant. And this lady from the French Red Cross comes up to us and talks about how we need to leave the country because of Trump. And she starts complaining about him and how uncooperative he was being to with the French. And she just starts complaining openly to us four Americans about our president, which was pretty funny, I think. The first time I've ever been told to go back to my own country as a white man, which is, I mean, it's sad anyone gets told that, but their reason wasn't race or ethnicity related. It was the whole world's going to start closing down soon. And so after that meal, my dad kind of looked into it a little bit more, and he decided that we are going to head home. And so we booked a flight for the next day. And so we call on a cab and we call on a cab and we get to the airport, and then we just hang around for a bit, and then we fly out of France, and we're going to go land in Chicago. And so if you didn't know about this or hear about this, Chicago was a huge COVID checkpoint for a while. And so we were just kind of stuck in Chicago for a little bit. It took us a while to get through customs. There was maybe 3 or 4 people wearing a mask at this point, and they had us all right next to each other, which, I mean, even as a 15-year-old, I realized this is stupid. If they're worrying about a virus, they shouldn't have us all crammed in like sardines, you know? And so they had us crammed in this line to get through. Well, you got through customs, and then you went to this COVID check line, where they ask you a ton of questions. If you've been in mainland China in the past 30 days, if you feel sick, like, do you have temperature, blah blah blah. I think if you say yes to any of those things, you get quarantined, and they send you to a hotel nearby. Which my dad was like, "Hey, you feel fine, right?" And he's like, "I mean, we all felt great. None of us were actually sick. I still have yet to have COVID. I've had all of the vaccines, but so yeah, we all felt perfect. We go through and we get in line. It's finally my dad, my brother, and I's turn. We go through, and this lady's waiting for a table to get up, to open up, and just keeps waiting and waiting and waiting, and no one is open. And there's 3 of us, so it would take longer. No tables are open. There's like 3 or 4, and they've had to process probably like a couple hundred people a day through this airport, because a lot of flights were going through here. And she's like, "Okay, do you guys feel sick?" And we're like, "No." "Have you been to China?" "No." "Okay, go." And she just sent us through. There was no temperature checks. There was nothing. And looking back on that, I was like, yeah, I could see why COVID spread so bad in the United States, with that kind of care. And other things, of course, but I understand it was probably a stressful situation for her. Sorry, I'm adjusting my mic. So we finished this up. and we're in the Chicago airport. Chicago's a pretty big place. I'd like to think. I know it's pretty big. And this airport is empty. There's like no one here. Totally surreal. We had a layover for Denver. Um and so we were just waiting there and there's no one. So we're waiting for Denver, or we're waiting for our next flight to Denver. Um and we're there for like 3 hours. And we've probably seen 10 people. And we get in this flight and we go to Denver and talking. Me and my brother, I'm talking to this lady across from us, and I was like, "Yeah, I've been up for about 26 hours as of now, and we came from France." And we kind of told them the whole situation. Like, wow, that's crazy. There was one person on this flight wearing a mask, which it's just still crazy to me, the percentage of people wearing a mask. And so we get to Denver, and we land, and we get through, and we're like, okay, we're gonna rest for a little bit, and then take a train, stop. So we get to Denver, hang out there for like 3 nights. The day we left was the day Denver closed down. So I went out to eat the last day you could have before the pandemic in Denver. So far I've had 3 lasts. So we get on this train, and it is an 8-hour train ride. It's just a struggle to stay awake. It was just a struggle to stay conscious. And that was the first time I was like, okay, I need coffee. I need something because I'm tired of bobbing my head. So I go and I get some coffee, and I'm just drinking it straight black. I didn't care at this point, and I didn't even drink coffee at this time. And so I just drink it straight black, and I'm like, okay, this is actually fantastic. I was enjoying it so much for some reason. And that is why I think I have a coffee problem, is because of that trip, because of staying up that long. All of the traveling, because we traveled, I don't even know how how many miles. It was like over 10,000 miles. So we finally get done with that, and we get on the train. Finally get through the Rocky Mountains, which it was gorgeous. Don't get me wrong, but man, I just wanted to be stopped. We were stopping, waited 2 days, got a rental car, and so we got home. I was about to turn 16. So yeah, I was about to turn 16, and so I kind of was just hanging out in the house for a while. We had a 2-week quarantine, which my father was working the whole time virtually. Then he went back into work in person, and then it was my birthday, and then I was like, Dad's working, my brother's playing video games, not much I can do, and everything's closed at this point. So I went on a run and had a Sweet 16 by myself. It was a really weird change of pace for a bird, but that was the short version of the story. If you guys want, I wrote a college essay about this whole situation and how it changed my perspective. And I can definitely read that or do something like story time or something like that in the future. I wouldn't be opposed, but I will talk to you guys later. Sorry, this is just like a quick little thing I could throw together before I leave for my trip. But I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Love you guys. Have a good night.